The most or the biggest challenge some of our counterparties face is that they first have to realize and to admit that they might have an issue.
Writing off a position, either if it's your own corporate position or a client position, is never easy, but it's almost impossible if you don't know the reasons for the write-off.
Multiplicity Partners is a investment boutique based in Zurich, whose mission it is to provide liquidity to holders of illiquid assets, both in private markets as well as in distressed assets. We started as a sell-side advisor just after the financial crisis, and we're really advising first-time sellers in a very difficult market environment.
With one sort of activity centering around transactions in private market funds. A second team would look at distressed, more exotic or esoteric assets, which typically are sort of legacy assets from the financial crisis. That whole transaction and advisory business is complemented by an activity around governance and advisory solutions.
In that regard, we are probably the number one specialist, the marketplace of Zurich, servicing mainly private clients and institutional clients across Europe and the US. There is a point a client needs to realize that it's probably that he is better off by selling an asset at the discount, which might take another few years just to completely liquidate.
Resolving a difficult situation will allow them to really focus on their core business, which for a wealth manager is to manage assets for their clients. The typical illiquid and or distressed asset that is in a client portfolio is a small part of the overall problem. So really we want to help them focus on their core business again and look forward into the future, as opposed to always focus on a problem that has resulted in the past.
Once they have figured out that they need help, I think Multiplicity is very quickly amongst the possible partners. We've been in the industry now for 8 years with an exclusive focus on illiquid assets, and especially in Switzerland, people know that.
If a client comes to us, it doesn't mean that this client needs to sell an asset to us. It could well be that the client just seeks information which we can give to the client. We can, even when it's a very complex asset situation, we can try to shed light on that situation, helping to take a decision. The decision can then well be that the client decides to sell an asset, and hence we are in many cases the counterparty with which the client is going to transact. We understand the client as an investor. We understand the client being stuck in a complex situation, as we have given advice to many other players out there in the market.
We developed a lot of expertise in these strategies and have a lot of contacts in the industry that cover more difficult assets as well. So having a background on the distress side helps us also to look at difficult private equity fund situations, underperforming assets that must be restructured, etc.
What we try to do at Multiplicity is to really make a client understand what the problem with a particular asset is, how that problem can be resolved, and showing them a way how a particular transaction, for example, can be structured and an asset transferred.
We deal with relatively small fund positions, so typically these are not of interest to the mainstream buyers, and often the current holders had problems of finding a suitable buyer for such small positions. Or we also look at underperforming funds and niche funds that are not of common interest.
We look at the past valuations, at the monthly or quarterly reports. We study the financials. And when I say we study the financials, we go through the footnotes, the back-end section, and we discuss it with other participants in the market so that we have a picture that the current holder of the assets normally doesn't have. We have a huge, what we call library, with projects, fund names, corporate distress situations that we can benefit from after so many years and help clients pretty quickly in most situations.
I think we run a pretty lean model with a number of senior specialists that have quite a broad experience across asset classes and can also economically do transactions that a larger, more bureaucratic investment organization couldn't tackle.
At the partner level, we have a very complementary set of skills based on the background of the different partners. I think next to a sort of holistic understanding of the actual distressed assets, one of our key strengths is the structural understanding of different investments beyond the asset itself.
I'm fully aware that illiquid and distressed assets are such a small niche that the investment teams typically don't have the time to look after that, whereas it's probably one of the most complex assets that they have on their books. So that has been a very good partnership with many of the larger and leading pension funds in Switzerland.